Everyone remembers the day when future President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed the nation about the looming threat of global conflict in the late 1930s. As war brewed in Europe, the average American was divided between isolationism and intervention. The year was 1940, and the Nazi blitzkrieg was wreaking havoc, particularly in France. Just when hope seemed lost, a remarkable event unfolded: the evacuation of Allied troops from the beaches of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, a coastal city in France, had become a desperate point of evacuation for British and Allied soldiers, trapped by advancing German forces. As the situation deteriorated, the British government called for every available vessel to assist in this monumental rescue. What happened next would not only shift the tide of the war, but also galvanize support from the United States. Amid this chaotic backdrop, Roosevelt watched closely. He was determined that America should not be an isolated observer, but rather an active participant. The reports from Dunkirk filled him with urgency. The courage and desperation of the soldiers echoed deeply with Roosevelt's vision of American democracy under threat. Across the ocean, as British civilian boats began to brave the treacherous English Channel, hundreds of ordinary Americans found themselves compelled to answer the call. Organized by volunteers and aspiring naval officers, a fleet of merchant ships, yachts, and fishing vessels set sail from the U.S. East Coast heading towards Europe. One particularly striking story was that of a man named Harry Hayes, a Brooklyn native who owned a modest fishing boat. When he heard of the evacuation, he rallied his neighbors to pool resources. Despite the severe risk and uncertainty, their determination was palpable, fueled by the stories of heroism coming from Dunkirk. Meanwhile, overseas, General Dwight D. Eisenhower oversaw the chaotic logistics of the evacuation. He knew that the success of this colossal effort hinged not just on military strategy, but on the remarkable willpower of a coalition of nations coming together. Thousands were fleeing across the expansive shoreline, fighting for survival on the sand. Under relentless fire from German aircraft, courage was their only armor. As James, a young soldier trapped in Dunkirk, watched comrades fall around him, he held on to the hope that help was on the way. The sound of incoming planes loomed ominously overhead, yet he couldn't shake off the flickering realization that civilians on boats were risking everything to save them. Back on American soil, a mixture of skepticism and fervor gripped the nation. The supplies for the fleet were gathered with urgency. Words of a spontaneous armada breached media waves. Volunteers painted flags. Young men enlisted. The spirit of Dunkirk transcended borders and ignited hope in countless hearts. As the boats arrived in Dunkirk and the evacuation commenced, an extraordinary scene unfolded. Over 9 days, nearly 340,000 troops were whisked to safety in Britain. The scope of the operation shocked world leaders. Civilians had risen to the occasion to save a beleaguered army, defying the odds. This pivotal moment demonstrated the power of human spirit amidst adversity. As the steamers, fishing boats, and pleasure yachts dodged enemy fire to reach stranded troops, they unraveled a more profound narrative, one that challenged American isolationism and hinted at America's eventual involvement in World War II. The spirit of Dunkirk did not end with the last boat leaving the shore. The narrative of unity sparked a sense of urgency in Roosevelt, who recognized the importance of standing in solidarity. It encouraged a nation on the brink of understanding that sometimes to preserve freedom, one must be ready to act, not just for self, but for humanity. In years to come, the phrase Dunkirk spirit would symbolize resilience. Children raised on stories of bravery would learn that in times of peril, regular individuals took the helm, proving that true courage knows no limits, borders, or nationality.